Beyond.
Beyond.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Beyond, episode 514. My name is Marty. I'm joined by Alana.
Hi.
And Andrew.
Last week we got to go on a nice little date, and now this week you're just sitting in between us.
Yeah, I'm sorry for breaking it up.
Yeah, it's fine.
It was an order from Steve. He was like, please sit between.
Please,
whatever that is.
Please destroy the sexual tension between Andrew and Marty.
Yeah.
We have a good show for you guys today. I played a ton of Shadow of War, so we're going to finally talk about that. We all got to dive a little bit into the Battlefront 2 beta, I believe. Alana recently played a game called Echo, which just came out for PSN, which seems really cool. Mm-hmm. We're also going to talk about the fact that in 2017, microtransactions and loot boxes have become sort of a topic du jour that we're going to unpack a little bit. And then finally, we want to talk about Bethesda's Wolfenstein 2 marketing, and then sort of a bigger topic about sort of games being political, which I think is pretty cool.
I like that. It sounded like you said microtransactions.
Yeah, Microtransaction.
Yeah.
Michael Zaki
It's
transactions.
when
That was the Dark Souls DLC.
You buy a gift for your friend Michael.
Yeah,
Yeah.
microtransactions.
I don't have any
Do
friends
we have
named
any
Michael.
friends? You don't have any friends named Michael?
I have Mike Oransky.
Yeah, Mike Oransky.
Yeah.
I've never bought him a gift.
Neither.
Not some friend you are.
Yes, not a very good one.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about Shadow of War. That's a big game this week. You guys got to watch me play about an hour of it for a Let's Play for our
and I
YouTube
have
channel.
played in total 2 hours because there was so many previews for that game that
Yeah.
I'm still amazed that it was ever delayed.
Yeah, right.
I don't know that it needed to be.
I mean, it was only delayed like a month and a half, 2 months. But yeah, I've put, I think, about 25 hours into it. I think I'm almost done with the campaign. I like it a whole lot. Mm-hmm. As someone who, I think all of us enjoyed the first Shadow of War or Shadow of Mordor, but it's one of those games that I loved in the moment, but I didn't really think about afterwards. I thought about the Nemesis system and how I wished that was a thing more games took from, which I feel like we've talked about on this show sort of ad nauseum.
I liked the combat, but that was iterative of something, and so was the climbing. So it was it didn't have a really, really strong identity to me, except that it was in Middle-earth.
Yeah, I mean, it totally wears its gameplay inspirations on its sleeve, whether from Assassin's Creed, Batman, Arkham. Yeah, but it does some different things, and one of the things it does here is it feels much more RPG-ish than Shadow of Mordor did, and then any of the other games, except for Assassin's Creed Origins, which is interesting, because I played about 4 hours of Origins, and this is reminding me a ton of that in terms of sort of the loot drops and the upgrade system, and how it feels like that single player MMO experience where you're getting epics and legendaries and rare items, and you want to equip purple things and yellow things and slowly raise a core number up, which is a lot like how we were talking about Destiny a week or two ago.
Yeah, and I think the skill tree is also a hell of a lot bigger. Mm-hmm. There are a lot more skills and kind of more specific skills. Like one of the things I really like is a double jump. Is that a skill?
Yeah, that's something going.
That's like a traversal skill that you can unlock, and then there are just a lot of combat skills and different things that are orientated for both you, but then all of the people that you can recruit when you're trying to overtake a siege or something kind of have their own buffs as well.
Yeah.
So it just seems like there's a lot more option.
There is a ton of depth in this that there's small things that even 25 hours into it will notice. We were playing the game today and I didn't realize I could have specific orcs that I've dominated and then put in positions of power, which just seems like a really weird sentence. I didn't realize I could then have them train and gain certain buffs or certain things which help them either in defending a siege or in taking on a new city and taking over.
It seems like a lot of, I don't know, I haven't actually played it, but watching it seems like a lot of the same stuff, just kind of maybe a little deeper.
Yeah, it definitely,
does seem similar.
It feels, even story-wise, I don't know, without sounding pejorative, it feels like Shadow of Mordor 1.5. It doesn't feel like a monumental leap forward in any ways. All the systems feel like they're pushed a little bit further, and I like the fact that when you begin the game, you either have or very quickly get a lot of the powers you had at the end game of the first game. It doesn't do that Symphony of the Night thing where death comes along and is I took everything, and you're like, well,
that was a great death, dude.
Thank you. Yeah, I've been practicing that one for a while.
Yeah. But you also, this time around, have a positive nemesis system, which I like a lot.
Yes.
Because the first game obviously was the people that you would fight, if they won, they would rank up or whatever. This has that for people you've recruited.
Yes.
So it's you're building your own army, and I think that's a thing that I could, if it were my save file, I could get really attached to the people that I was building up.
Well, and you do cool things that has sort of like the multiplayer in
the hat.
In Phantom Pain. Yeah, there was a really good guy with a hat. We haven't
figured that because that Let's Play will be up on Thursday.
There you go.
So
we haven't quite figured out why certain times you pause the game and there's just random orcs there, and there was an orc with a real a foppy hat.
I wonder if
a real dandy boy
in a certain area that has a bunch of power,
or maybe it was the last major orc I'd interacted with.
But I would have remembered that man with that hat.
Yeah.
Hey,
maybe that was the man I interacted with last night when I played the game.
What do you name him?
Andrew?
You can't name the characters anything, which is Andrew's biggest fault.
Name whatever you want. I can name this water bottle Kevin.
You can absolutely name the water bottle Kevin. Going back to what I was
It doesn't
talking
have
about.
a naming convention. It's different.
So the multiplayer in the game feels like Phantom Pain, where you are building. It's like building Mother Base, but you are building these
So you tie
fortresses.
balloons to people? And then,
Yeah, there are actually balloons in the game. No, there's not. I lied to you. But you are building your base up, and you're fortifying it and adding specific people to it who then your friends can sort of offline, or while you're offline, try to take over your fortress.
oh, yeah, that happened when we loaded up to save. You're like,
There's like John Ryan. Yeah. But there's also cool things where, like, if a specific orc kills you, all of a sudden in someone else's game, there'll be like I think it's called like a redemption quest or a revenge quest, and that'll come up, and I can like redeem Andrew's death. Yeah.
So do
Thanks,
you like
man.
the multiplayer?
Well, the one thing is I was playing most of it pre-release, so not a lot of people were online, but like the game's finally out in the wild now, and I was seeing all of a sudden I got a bunch of notifications. So
Tomorrow, though, isn't it?
yeah, but I mean it's out internationally already.
True.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I'm sort of intrigued to see how that goes. I think certain things I don't like is it suffers from that Assassin's Creed thing where so often I feel like it's not doing what I want it to do.
Yeah.
I'll stick to a ledge, or I won't be able to climb down, or I won't be
those kind of
focusing on the enemy I
box that
want.
You got stuck in at a certain point.
Yeah.
So it's like a little bit glitchy.
Yeah,
It
and
seems like it's collapsing a lot of actions onto a single button, and
Yeah.
so you're not doing the one thing you want.
no, totally, which has been a problem with this genre since Assassin's Creed sort of created it. And I don't know who's going to solve that, because I think there's just too much going on to actually solve
Yelled,
it.
damn it, Ezio, a lot of times trying
Yeah.
to climb things in Assassin's
And
Creed.
it's gotten better. Like I think Syndicate was the best feeling game. It had the feeling of horizontal and both like vertical up and down traversal really well. But that's still a problem. I don't think the story's all that interesting in the game. I like some of the characters, and I like the like stories that pop up with the weird orcs. They all have a ton of weird quirks
Yeah.
that are really
I
interesting.
really like
named-
the personality.
There's a guy named Lookout who just went, look out.
Yeah, he kept
Yeah,
screaming,
really
"Look out!" And then
really
there'll just be
like that.
orcs on fire in the middle of cutscenes, like running by.
They
like
all
it.
have different strengths and weaknesses and like different things that enrage them. And yeah, that's pretty much the same as the first one though. But the one thing that I liked the most from the demo I played was I played a really cool story mission with just like an insane boss fight that felt like very lore heavy.
Yeah.
Like and a lot more dense than I feel like they were in the original.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
also I really like the siege stuff. So that's like you see all of these different sieges, you have the opportunity to approach them, and once you like kind of engage in one of these siege overtakes, what are they called? Is there a name for those kind of missions?
I think they are called sieges, actually.
Just sieges.
Yeah.
And you pick which of your buddies, I don't know, what are they called?
I think you're like lieutenants. Like it's pretty much the Urukai that you've dominated, and the higher you level up, the more you can assign to specific roles. And within those roles, you could be like, all right, you are commanding beasts, and so you can then upgrade. They command like the little warg guys, or they get dragons, or they get giant trolls.
And then like sometimes the beasts can have buffs and stuff.
Yeah.
So you bring those
Buff
into the
beasts.
siege with you. Nice. And then they capture points with you. Do you have to capture the point? They like can take everyone out, and you have to go finish the capture though, right?
Yeah, you have to be the one to plant the flag. But then sieges are easier if you do these submissions beforehand, which take out the sort of commanding officer orcs.
Right.
So if you try to do a siege from the get-go and there's 4 commanding officers, like there's going to be a ton of like high-level dudes.
Yeah.
Whereas if you take out the officer that's in charge of the wolves, then you don't have to worry about wolves. Or if you take out the dragon master, then you're not going to have to worry about the dragons.
Do you have to like do some kind of intel or recon to like figure out who those are? Or
Yeah, you can do intel, or you can assign, like there's just a lot of depth, and you can assign a Urukai that you've dominated to become a spy and infiltrate for one of these dudes. And then when you get to that mission, the guy will come out, and then your guy will just come back behind him and slit his throat.
Right.
And it's like, oh, that was great. And then also I've had these moments where
you
like,
can kind of make it as easy or as hard for yourself
yeah,
as you
totally. And everything feels like I like the loop of the game, and you're continually upgrading the character and upgrading the inventory and collecting these items that are slowly inching you forward and kept me playing. And like every 10 minutes I'd be like, oh, I want to do something else. Oh, I want to do something else, which again reminded me of, Destiny a little bit ago.
Yeah. And so then with the sieges, I wanted to mention like when you actually, my keeps falling down. When you actually get inside of like the castle building, there's a boss fight in there.
Yeah.
And the boss fight that I played was really, really
They're
fun.
super tough. Yeah.
Super fun.
Yeah.
Because you're like trying to dominate all of these people to get health from
Yeah.
them. And sometimes you have to like grab someone and try and run away with them, but it doesn't really work that way.
Mm-hmm.
Or you just have to like find vantage points, and sometimes the inside of that room will have like a floor with grates that like spits out
It's out
poison,
fire.
and
Oh yeah, I had
like,
one that
it's-
spits out fire, and so I'm like
Yeah.
constantly like, and then the archers were appearing on the top
Yes.
level.
Yeah.
It was really cool. I was in one of those battles, and I had the guy down to really low health, but then he struck a final blow against me. But it cut to this like thing where right when he was about to strike me, one of the orc that I had dominated came in and killed him. So right when I was about to die, and so that ended that castle, and I was like, all right, you're the overlord now. Like, you just saved my life. So like, you run this castle now. So that was just really cool. Like,
That is
it just
cool.
came out of nowhere. And
Especially because that should be different for everyone.
yeah, totally.
Like, it's a really tactical game that I think even people who don't like Lord of the Rings or care about Middle Earth will probably still really enjoy.
And you don't
And that was
need
the first game too.
Yeah, and you don't need to know Lord of the Rings or even play the first game in order to understand. Like, it catches you up on the story really quick, and then there are like nods to Shelob and the Ring Wraiths and the Balrog. Corey Balrog.
Yeah. Halfway through, it just devolves into
God
a
of
quick
War.
discussion about God of War.
Yeah, it'd be great. And so there's stuff like that, but yeah, you can totally go in blind. Like, I'm a fan of the movies, but I read the books as a kid, but I don't really know like the lore or anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's really good. I'm glad it came out a couple weeks before Assassin's Creed because I feel like those are the two big open world games this fall. I mean, Mario is technically open world, but that feels very different. So I'm just glad I'm getting Shadow of War out of my system before.
Yeah, totally.
For the madness, because yeah, we're just hitting a point now where we were talking about this when we were getting coffee about how we feel almost pressured every week to play the newest things so that we don't get left behind.
I'm already overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Like, always thinking about, it's pretty much always October, November that's like stuff gets really hard. And it's like, I'm like, oh, I'm behind because I just started Persona 5 and that was probably a bad idea. But like, there's already a big list of stuff that I haven't finished. And I'm like, how do I?
Yeah, you haven't jumped into Destiny yet.
Yeah.
Like,
And
Evil Within
this,
comes out at the end of the week.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
It's insane. It's already happening.
Yeah, you got Zelda out of the way real quick. You did that in a good 4 days. Yeah.
That was good
Yeah.
move on my behalf.
Yeah.
I still
I
haven't
still haven't
beaten it.
finished Horizon though.
Yeah, I still haven't beaten Zelda either.
Oh, really?
Well,
I'm like
I
200 and something hours in. I'm 100% in literally everything I can do. Well, except the only thing I haven't. Well, never mind. This is a PlayStation podcast.
Did
but
you
yeah.
not want to finish it?
No, I want to do everything else.
He's
I
afraid
keep
of
finding
Ganon.
new stuff.
He's afraid of
Yeah.
Pikmin.
It's pretty
Really am.
scary.
Yeah,
He's gonna be so easy for me at this point, though.
But when's the Horizon Zero Dawn DLC? That's pretty
Really
soon,
November.
right?
Yeah, that's about a month away.
man.
And then in December, the Game of the Year edition comes out with the core game and all the DLC. And
That's awesome.
from the- Yeah. Yeah, God, when I was saying that's the only other open world game left this year, I'm like, man, yeah. I wonder how long Frozen Wilds is going to be. Like, we don't know. Like, there hasn't been no one said that it's like Lost Legacy where it's 6 hours, but I feel like it's going to be a lot longer. Like,
Is it a new area in the existing open
Yeah.
world, or is it standalone?
Well, I think that you have to have owned Horizon to play
I
it,
don't actually know.
but I don't know the answer to that yet.
And I don't even mean that by standalone, but I just mean like, do we know yet if it's like a separate?
I mean,
I believe it's a new area.
I should know
climate-wise,
that,
I think it's a separate area.
yeah.
So speaking of other big games coming out this fall, we got to play the Battlefront 2 beta over the weekend. That was, I believe it launched on Wednesday for people who had pre-ordered the game. And then on Friday went public to anyone. So on PS4, on Xbox One, or on PC.
And then they extended it.
And then they extended it a couple days. Andrew, you and I we did a Let's Play of it, and we got to play a
played a
bunch.
little bit of it.
Yeah, you got to play. So what did you guys think of it?
I mean,
Modes I like and modes I don't like.
Yeah, I had played it at E3 and Gamescom a little bit. Yeah, I haven't played everything for sure. I haven't played any campaign yet at all. I played
Neither.
Starfighter Assault at Gamescom.
I like that.
And then in the beta, yeah, we played like a co-op mode. That was what, Galactic Assault?
No, we played this. We played a small
Yeah.
called Strikes. It was like little
Yeah,
sorties.
yeah.
I think the mode that you guys played is one of the ones that I don't like.
Yeah. I mean,
Interesting.
the thing is, the thing we played was a really small.
There's
It was
a Let's Play of that up
yeah,
right now.
yeah.
That's true.
YouTube.com/IGN It was all contained onto just the innards of Theed of the palace. Which,
Yeah.
like, isn't that interesting of an area?
Plus, we were fighting against bots, so we weren't even playing online. So it was like especially like
Yeah.
But I mean, like I think like mechanically, like I like a lot of what it's doing upgrade wise. And we can get into. I mean, we'll talk about kind of the loot boxy aspects of it soon. But like as far as like when you have the currency to spend, I like the way upgrades work in that game. I like
It's better than everyone mad
Finding a token.
Yeah.
yeah, and like I do think character classes feel totally distinct. Like in playing as a hero still feels dramatically better and different and more powerful than playing as like a normal scrub.
Yeah, the classes feel distinct when you're playing them, but they don't look distinct. Like the battle droids all look so similar with just really slight shades of color,
Yeah.
which makes visually surveying what you're shooting at difficult.
Yeah.
But like the
Also-
clone army is like distinct. Like it's
Yeah,
like you
but,
have like
but like I feel like the game can never be competitive if they don't fix the fact that you'll jump in, start fighting something, and not know if that's a heavy or if that's assault. Like
I don't know if I'm crazy, but I feel like droids have smaller hitboxes. Like I feel
might
like
be
if I was
thinner,
playing
yeah.
against droids, that doesn't necessarily mean they
Sure.
do though, but I feel like it was harder for me to find them.
Yeah.
And like even when you do find them because they like kind of blend in more, like shooting them seem to be like slightly harder. I don't know if I'm right about that, but it'll be interesting to actually see if that's true or not.
Yeah. But I like the, I think that was the one called the Galactic Conquest or Assault. And that was the one where it was tiered objectives where the clone troopers or the battle droids are pushing in on Theed, trying to get this tank to the palace, and then the clone troopers are trying to hold back. And it had different objectives to where at first you're trying the battle droids are trying to protect the tank, and the clone troopers are trying to destroy it. And then eventually, if they push forward enough, it reverses roles, and defense becomes offense.
And there are a lot more objectives, even like, or maybe the objectives because they like move, they feel more purposeful. I think in almost every game mode now.
Yeah, totally.
For that. But yeah, I still think Starfighter Assault is my favorite mode, but a lot of people don't like that because they get disorientated or like blow up quickly.
Yeah, I think it just takes a little while to get used to.
Yeah, but I think that is kind of to the game's credit that there's a mode for everyone.
Yeah.
People can pick.
Yep. And I
Yeah.
think like I do think like that was one of the strengths of the first game. Like because like Walker Assault in the first game is pretty similar to the mode we played here, where it's like the same exact idea, where it's like you're basically defending or attacking like an AT-AT in that game, and then here like I think like. I totally agree that they're tailoring it to different play styles. Like there are modes I'm just never going to play when I pick up Battlefront, and then there are other modes I'm really into.
Yeah, I just love it. It's also like this level you're looking at right now is absolutely gorgeous. The Starfighter level is absolutely stunning. And the same thing with Theed, like going around Naboo outside, like it looks almost as good as it did in the movie.
Yeah.
Like
I mean,
probably
it might
better,
look better.
actually.
Yeah.
It's so pretty.
I mean, like that game,
The sound design.
Sound design is amazing.
everything is like it's like so it feels like when like 360 first came out or whatever, like, and I remember just like looking at textures and being like, how'd they do that? Like, and this game gives me that feeling occasionally where I just look at something, I'm like, God, that looks so
the
good.
light coming through the leaves, just
Yeah,
simple things like that,
exactly.
like what Darth Maul's lightsaber looks like when he illuminates it. Yeah, I'm just excited because we know this, like content-wise, this game has so much more than the original Battlefront, and so I'm just excited to explore all of these different worlds that span the three trilogies, and then also, play as the different characters and different classes, and just sort of like, I'm not the most competitive multiplayer guy, but I do want to see everything this game has to offer.
I'm gonna be honest, I think that I'm probably gonna see everything it has to offer and then almost never play it again.
Yeah.
That's the way I kind of feel about this specific game. Like there's definitely multiplayer shooters that I really cling to. I don't think this is one of them. I can't really like say why, but I don't think I'm gonna get super invested in it. But I am really excited about the fact that it has a campaign.
The weird thing for me in the first game was I totally felt the same way and kind of still feel the same way, but like it hooked me for like a month and a half just because of Star Wars. Like as stupid and service level as that is,
totally
like there's this feeling of like I used to be really into Call of Duty, like in college or whatever, when I had enough time. This hooked me. Battlefront 1 hooked me in a way that a game hasn't in a while. Yeah. And I eventually broke it and I never went back. But it's just like, I was caught in that loop.
Broke the game.
Like broke the habit.
Max and
kicked
Ryan
the habit.
both played it.
They played it a ton, and those guys don't play multiplayer
Right,
shooters.
and for them it's the exact same reason,
And
right? It's
Star Wars, yeah.
And it definitely controls well, and like it's good. It's just for whatever reason, this isn't the kind of multiplayer that I wanted.
Yeah. I just like the
I
fact
think
that
we'll get attached.
this fall, like we have such different multiplayer experiences in terms of shooters. Like Destiny is so different than this, which is so different than what Call of Duty is trying to do, and then
Shooter I'm most
PUBG.
excited about is still Wolfenstein.
Yeah, same.
Ain't got no
Honestly,
multiplayer,
but I'm super excited for the campaign of this. In full disclosure, our friend and former colleague Mitch is co-writing it, but I like the fact that they've been sort of playing their cards close to the vest. Like we know it stars Iden Versio, and we know she's an Imperial officer, but we don't really know what we're doing in the campaign yet.
Yeah, I think the thing that I'm most excited about is them like fleshing out or trying to humanize the dark side. I think that's going to be really, really hard for them to do, and I'm really interested to see that. And there's this one trailer that has a quote that I really don't like. It's like why don't the rebels give up? And then someone just says because they have hope or something like that. That I just think is ridiculous.
Well, that was the name. What if there's a character named Hope or like a weapon, like a gun? It's
That
like
would
there's
be
a
all right
gun
then.
named Hope.
That would be okay.
We have a freelance writer named Hope. Do you think it's her?
Yeah, Hope was a character.
Corrigan?
Yeah.
She
Could be.
listens to the show. Hi, Hope.
Oh, hi, Hope. Hello.
But
Congrats
I
on
think
your pivotal role in the battle between the rebellion and the empire.
thanks for all you did. But I think it's like it's gonna be really interesting to see how they actually manage that balance and not make them just seem super evil and like convince me that she's okay.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to that. I'm excited to feel challenged by that, I think.
Yeah, same. Moving on to other games this fall, as we mentioned, Evil Within 2 comes out on Friday. We're not going to get that for a little bit. So
Doing a live stream of that tomorrow.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, today. Is that today or tomorrow?
What day's it going up?
It's Tuesday.
It's Tuesday then.
Okay.
It's today.
Alana did a live stream that you can watch the VOD of. But yeah, we'll have a lot more on that obviously next week. But then another game that's coming out this week, which you may not have heard of, is a game called Echo, which came out a couple weeks ago.
That's one with the crazy title screen, right?
Steam. Yeah, that game's title screen
so
is so
good.
cool.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
The title screen, for everyone who wants to know, is just a giant eyeball.
Yeah.
And you move the iris around, and that's how you select things, but everything on the menu is invisible unless you move the iris around.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's
really
super
cool.
It's really cool. It's like I would just never play the game. I just mess around with that menu.
I did that for a really long time.
Yeah. Then it was we're an hour into the live stream. You really need to try it.
So Echo was a terrible game to stream, actually. When I chose to stream it because I was really interested in the concept of it. It was a terrible game to stream because people didn't really understand what was happening. And I can see that this is a game that I don't think you should necessarily watch gameplay of and then be like, this doesn't look interesting to me. I think you actually need to kind of invest in it. But it basically, you get dropped, or you're trying to find this planet that's mythical, and it's this giant machine that's the size of a planet, basically. Giant computer that's also a mansion. So it's already weird, but...
You just keep adding things.
Giant mansion computer. And you're trying to find... The context of it doesn't matter, but the fact that it's a machine does. So you get to it, you turn this thing on, it's a little bit broken, and then you get inside of it, and it's this just big mansion where everything kind of looks the same, which is my biggest criticism, is that every level is very, very similar looking. It's like white, huge halls, looks very, very fancy, looks kind of like old English style. You see it there. So it all looks exactly like that. But when you reboot it, because it has these issues, it's trying to get you out of being in there. So you're in there trying to find a thing, trying to get as deep into this thing as you can, which is effectively a labyrinth.
You're like ostensibly a virus in this program.
Effectively, and it's trying to get rid of you, and the way that it does that is by replicating you. So that's what we're seeing here, is its attempts to replicate you, because it hasn't necessarily ever had a human inside of it before.
Same.
I think that it hasn't ever had anyone in it. Didn't get to the end of the game, so I don't know. So it's like, okay, I recognize this is a threat. I'm going to learn from this threat on how to kill it, because I've never had to do this before. So all of these things keep spawning that, as you get further through the game, slowly actually do look more and more like you. Like, they pick up your likeness more, which is in itself very, very cool. But they also learn from what you do. So if you shoot your gun, which is great, it's one hit kill, but it also shoots through. So if there's a line of 3 and you shoot, it'll kill all 3 of them. If you do that, when the computer reboots for the next time, which it does because it's broken, they will know how to do it. So basically, anything you do, you can teach the AI, because that's the defense mechanism. And then the computer will shut down, go completely black. And then when it turns back up, they will have learned to do the things that you did previously. Not necessarily all of them, but it's usually 4 or 5, and then it reboots, and then they know how to do it. And that in itself means you have to think about everything you do. So if you walk up to someone and you stealth take them out from behind, that means they can do that to you, which is terrifying. It's probably one of the scariest things to do. Sometimes you need to do it because to get your objective, which is collect a certain amount of orbs, or just get through this room or whatever, you need to take some of them out, because they can kill you pretty quickly.
So the worst...
Just to paint a picture, the game it's like a third person. It looks like Metal Gear or sort of Hitman.
Anyone who's watching the video will have just seen the gameplay, but yeah, kind of. Yeah, it's very simplistic.
It's former Eidos Montreal people, right?
It's a bunch of people who worked on Hitman, but it's a pretty small team, I think. And so when you're teaching them all of this stuff, you have to. It's not immediately obvious, but you have to figure out what you are going to teach them. So say there's a level where you just want to get from one end to the other end, and you don't want them to attack you. In the level, the room beforehand or whatever, you would eat a grape and play an instrument and just do a bunch of stuff that will keep them occupied, so that they will do all of this stuff, so you can just walk through the room without any of them noticing.
That.
So cool.
But sometimes you need them to do things. So there's a level where you have a bridge that you can only operate from the other side. So you'll need to teach them how to turn one of the bridges on. So because they're trying to do things, they will turn a bridge on and get you to the other side. And because you only have a limited amount of things you can teach them before each reset, you have to be okay, I need to be able to do this, this, and this to get to the end of this room. So these are the things that I need to teach them. And you can't really waste any of the things that you teach them while also trying not to die.
So it's if you get to a room and you're I need to teach them how to open a bridge or whatever, but you didn't in the previous room, can you still, or do you have to go back?
You can. So it'll reset every time you've taught them 4 or 5 things.
Okay.
So that's what it's based on. It's not a timer or anything. So you could just, in that room, you would have to be okay, well, they need to do this one thing. I can't go back to the other room. So I'm going to reset this bridge. And then for the rest of it, you could take one out. You could run, teaching them how to run.
Yeah.
There's you could just fill it with
or jump or whatever.
Yeah.
There's no hard reset. You can't be all right, I did the bridge, hard reset. manual
teaching
reset?
them, teaching them
Okay.
stuff, but they will still always know how to do everything you did beforehand, and you will always have to do stuff. Like
Yeah.
you're always going to have to like open a door or vault or like use an elevator or something like that. There's always going to be stuff that you have to do.
That is such a cool, interesting new take on like AI and almost like
I think it's
programming
really cool.
as a mechanic.
You can teach
really
them
smart.
literally anything you can do, they can do. And it's smart in the way that there's these like balls that you can pick up that are melee weapons. And we were like freaking out about using one of those because the logic was like, those are really, really scary. If you pick one up, you hit someone over the head with it, they die. It's like, we don't want them to be able to do that. But then we figured out that if we never picked up the ball, then we attack someone with it, they would never know how to pick it up. So if we pick up the ball in one round and then like go the next two and then use it, they could see
won't
how to
even
use
understand,
it, but they don't know how to
Oh,
pick it
that's
up.
really cool.
it's
So
like
you
we
don't
can-
reset. Like your inventory doesn't reset or
No,
anything.
you don't reset at all because you're actually
human.
physically
Yeah,
there.
you're a thing.
And it's just the crashing that's making them reset.
Yeah.
So it's like basically you can figure out those kind of things in advance and be like, well, I want to be able to use this in like 2 turns or whatever, so you can do that. And there's
It's a really
some
good
stuff
title
where-
too.
Echo? Oh yeah. I mean that.
Like given the gameplay. at the start, yeah.
Then there's stuff like you'll need to like cross water, but they won't be able to cross water, and there could be tons of them in a room, and you're like, okay, well, if I cross the water, then they all can, and I'm screwed because there's too many of them.
Yeah.
Like, is there another way around, or should I cross the water? Like, it's really thoughtful, and it's weird because looking at gameplay, I think it kind of just looks like a third-person shooter, basically.
Yeah.
But it's totally not. It's a puzzle game, and I think it's a really smart puzzle game. It's apparently only like 6-7 hours long.
Nice. Yeah.
But it definitely
sounds
gets
has
a lot
shades of like the VR missions, Metal Gear VR
Totally.
missions, or like Volume, the follow up to Thomas Was Alone.
Yeah.
Yeah, that seems really cool. I really want to check it
Impressed
out.
with Yeah, but I didn't finish it. But I am also really interested in the story. So
Yeah.
hopefully
It was
that's cool too.
just fittingly a lot of the way it sort of deals with the concept of AI and teaching a machine things sort of goes in line with Nier, which is something that you finally got to finish also ish maybe.
I don't necessarily agree with that, but yes, I did finish Nier.
You don't agree with like the logic of assigning things in Nier?
Not really.
Really?
I think you teach machines things. No, yeah, I did finally finish Nier. I put 50 hours into the game, and I got, I don't know, maybe half of the endings. I'm not sure, but I did like spend extra time trying to get extra endings. And yeah, I had to finish it 3 times because I was on painkillers, and then I would finish it, and then I would forget what happened, and then I would be like, damn it, like, trying to finish this game forever, and I couldn't remember what happened, so I'd have to finish it again. But yeah, the ending of Nier is insane, and that game is, the first playthrough is so vanilla that when you get to the end, I was like, wow, I did not realize how deep this goes.
Yeah.
Like, wow, it's everything that happens is interconnected, and it's interconnected from stuff that happened like 10,000 years ago. And it's like every single line of dialogue means something. Like, it's such an intricate narrative, and I was so impressed by it. It's also just, I don't think it's a game that is for everyone. I absolutely don't think that. I think it's ugly is probably one of the things that hurts it the most. And it's also just, some of the gameplay was infuriating because it's a lot of tapping, just a lot of like smashing a button over and over again, and that sucks. But it gets a little better as you upgrade. It does get easier, and you really got to upgrade your weapons to make that kind of stuff easier. But yeah, for anyone who wants like a really meaty narrative, I like totally recommend you play Nier. And like all the boss fights are cool. I really like all the characters, and yeah, I was really satisfied with the ending.
Yeah.
There's also like an extra ending where there's like a bullet hell that's the credits, so you have to like shoot all the credits. But I didn't
pretty
end up
cool.
finishing that. But I think I'll probably go
There's
back and try
there's
and
an ending
get
of
through the credits.
Katamari Damacy where you have to roll up all the credits.
That's
and you
right.
roll up all the countries on the planet.
Yep.
Yeah. It's
Pretty much
just,
that.
It's just like that. Yeah, it's
Pretty
a
cool.
1-to-1 match.
Yeah, just like Katamari.
And then Andrew, this wasn't a PlayStation game, although we want it to be a Vita game, but you were playing a lot of Golf Story.
Yeah, I've been playing a ton.
So
I mean,
in terms of you were the big champion of everybody's golf. You were on that everybody's golf train
Wow.
real early.
I love golf games, man.
What's up,
I
everybody's golf?
I hate real life golf, but I'm a big fan of Mario Golf and Hot
You
Shots.
hate
and-
golf? I'm so weirded out when anyone
It's not.
says
It's not that I hate golf. I just don't like golf.
You
Does that
just
make
get
sense?
drunk. That's why people play golf.
Well, that's miniature golf, though, right?
No, you get drunk and play
real
actual
golf?
golf.
I've
never-
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know
and
that.
then you're just like out in the sun.
I always
with
think of
friends
it
for
as
a day,
like-
drink driving because you have one of those buggies. It's so much fun.
I always think of it as like the owner of the Dallas Cowboys trading a player to the owner of the
Yeah, you know what's
other
up with those
football
boys
team.
playing golf? They're super drunk that whole day.
Yeah, it sounds about right. Actually.
yeah, but I feel like you got to be real affluent to play drunk golf.
Yeah, that's true.
You don't have to be good at it.
No, affluent money.
Oh no, not really.
Oh, it seems like it.
I'm still just laughing at the idea of the Shadow of War universe seeing someone hold a balloon for the first time and not knowing what to do.
That was like 20 minutes
back.
ago.
I've just been thinking about it. It's a pretty good goof.
Anyway, golf story.
yeah,
I
but
heard
you
it
thi-
has sausage rolls in it.
It does. It's very Australian, actually. You would probably like it quite a bit.
Made?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's made by like a very, very small team. I think it's only a few people, and
I mean, it's a large team, but they're all very small.
I hope it does come to. Yeah, that's true. They're very, very short.
15 just very small. It's 15 7-year-olds.
Yeah.
I hope it comes to something else. It's really, really fun. It's
What is it on?
Just Switch.
Just Switch right now.
Yeah. But it's not like Nintendo doesn't have an exclusivity deal, we think, with it.
As far as I know,
Yeah.
I think it's coming to everything else. It'll come to
I would imagine, I mean, maybe not Vita, even though this does seem totally like the game that would have been on Vita 3 years ago. But I think this is going to come to PS4 eventually.
Yeah, it's so weird. I mean, I mentioned it last week, but like I put whatever 40 hours into Danganronpa 3 on Vita, and like Persona 3 dancing, Persona 5 dancing are still coming. Like I guess there's still Vita experiences coming. It just seems insane to me. Like I imagine that's diminishing returns on the support for it, but we'll see.
Yeah.
It'd be cool.
May it rest in peace.
Rip.
I wonder if like because of the success of the Switch, like more people are interested in picking up Vitas again now though.
I don't think so. I think the thing is,
Maybe,
all of
yeah.
those, like aside from exclusives, like you're mentioning, like all of the indies are coming over to Switch. Like Switch is getting like it got Stardew Valley and it has SteamWorld Dig
Games
and
that are playable on Vita. Now people are like, I recognize the quality of the Switch. Like I want to play Final Fantasy on portable.
Yeah, I think it's more like I think Vita just doesn't fulfill the promise quite as well as the Switch does of like take it anywhere, because it's like there's a lot of games with cross save, but it's just a little more cumbersome.
Yeah, the Vita connection with PS4 plus the Wii U,
cool.
they both felt like half measures to what like the Wii is finally doing.
Switch.
Yeah,
I mean, some games
Switch,
nailed it.
yeah.
Like there are games that are 100% the Switch promise of you can play it on the go, come home, play it on it.
right?
Danganronpa is cross save, but it's not cross buy, so you would have to buy it twice to do that.
Guacamelee did that really well.
Guacamelee is
PlayStation
counted.
All Stars actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like there are a lot of those games that weren't cross buy.
Yeah.
So it's like
Sucks.
you still had to own two versions of it to do that.
Yeah.
Whereas there are games that are cross buy, cross save, but I don't know. It's not like built into the system, obviously.
I miss Sound Shapes.
Me too.
Sound Shapes is so
It's
My
so
favorite thing
good.
about Sound Shapes was if you got the trophies in one version and then transferred your save to like PS3
just
and
replicate them all.
you didn't have to do anything.
double the trophies?
So you would get like 15 silver trophies every time.
great.
So the game is absolutely stunning. It's amazing to listen to. It's so unique, and that's your favorite thing.
Yeah.
Fair criticism.
Monster.
Sound Shapes is really good.
And that back level, I guess.
The back level's really good too. We're like it says ooh, and it goes.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, that was my description of that. There's no natural transition to this. We mentioned it earlier. One of the big topics this week
So
has been
Nazis.
that's the next one.
Oh, I skipped
A lot of people have been talking about
dare you.
microtransactions and loot boxes this week, both in terms of, I think, unfairly with Shadow of War, and then fairly, in my opinion, with Battlefront 2. So to go over some of the Shadow of War stuff, there is a relatively aggressive microtransaction and loot box system in the game where you can buy with real money, you can buy a currency called gold, and that's the only way you can't earn the currency. And then you can get loot boxes or like double XP bonuses, and those boxes will give you like rare orcs that you can then add to your Uruk-hai army or like perks for those orcs. That being said, I've 25, 30 hours into the game. I've also earned all of that. And the thing is, earning orcs is fun. Like that's the thing I like doing.
And we just saw it in the Let's Play. Like in our Let's Play, you get a legendary one.
Yeah, legendary orc
Didn't spend money
appeared
on it.
and we
Yeah.
fought him and then dominated him and he's ours now.
Like people seem very confused about is that you have to spend money to get legendary orcs, but that is not.
So there was some incorrect initial reporting, and then a lot of people jumped on it because the game hadn't been out yet, so you weren't able to verify it. And so while I feel that you can easily get enjoyment out of Shadow of War and without spending a single dime, and I have been, some people are worried a little bit about what the microtransaction and loot box system looks like in Battlefront 2.
Yeah, where it right now the way that it stands, or the way that the beta was, which like they very openly said would not be reflective of the final product, is that it's kind of pay to win.
Yeah.
So you can buy loot boxes which give you like weapons and cards and
skins.
Skins. Have we ever spoken about that? Maybe we should just gloss over it, and that'll just be a weird part of this podcast. And everyone's like, why'd they say skin weird?
There's a good Twitter video you can find, yeah.
Yeah.
I like it better without context. So you can get stuff, and the idea is that, especially in the early days of the game, like someone who has spent the money to get weapons and get better stuff is going to have a better loadout than people who try to earn it naturally. And it gets more intense than that. And like you can pay to get more cards, and the more cards that you get, and cards can do things like they can increase like damage from 2% to 10% if you're on like the fourth card.
Yeah.
So it's like pretty significant things like that. Like there's one where at level 4, Boba Fett is immune to fire when he's like shooting rockets in the air.
Yeah, while floating, and it's like, oh, okay, so you're just invulnerable at this point. Yeah.
So there's a lot of things that are really significant in those cards, and basically with the way that you can purchase things, you have more of a chance of getting rare cards straight up because you're purchasing things, but you also can use bad cards to upgrade your other cards, or you can basically use like resources to upgrade your other cards. So it's like you have access to stuff that people could earn in game natively, but you can get it all way, way faster than anyone else. And
when it's competitive, it's very different.
I
Like,
can't think of another multiplayer shooter that has this kind of thing.
I mean, I think it's really big in like the mobile space. I think for a while, pay to win became a bigger thing.
Yeah.
I mean, so Tom Marks, our PC editor, has a editorial up that you can read on IGN that I think lays it out pretty well. I think it's totally fair, and he just kind of runs through like why he feels this is problematic.
Yeah.
And it's a slippery slope. I think. Like, I think you're totally right. This is a beta. We don't know what the final game will be like, but like it's definitely concerning if the way it seems like it works is how it actually works, because like, I don't know, like at the end of the day, I guess it's not that big of a deal if someone could spend money and have a competitive advantage because it's just a game. But it's like at the same time, like it seems unfair to say you can play for 200 hours or you can spend 50
Sure.
bucks.
I mean, that's the thing is when you look at some of the biggest competitive games with at least the most concurrence, you look at like League and Dota and PUBG and Overwatch, and those all have loot box bonanzas that you can spend a ton of money on, but it's all aesthetic.
Yeah,
it doesn't change how the game
Which
plays.
I would
Like,
be totally fine with.
like you could spend $1,500 or whatever and get your battle royale skin for PUBG, but just fine.
Yeah, or you can dress up like
Weapons and buffs.
Yeah.
you can dress up like the protagonist from Persona 5 in Pokemon Go. No one would spend money on that.
Spend money on that.
Yes,
You look like Joker.
Yeah,
Really?
yeah.
That's cute.
I feel like you've shown me your Pokemon Go character every once in a while, and I sort of just
I've definitely seen that.
my eye glosses over.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Tweeted it.
So I mean, how do you feel about this? And then also, like, how do you?
This is bad.
I think this is bad. Like, do you think that this is? Do you think the negative backlash is going to sort of rethink this thing, or do you think this is going to work out and then all of a sudden maybe the next Call of Duty is like this?
I mean, they're not going to stop because like
People are going to buy it because of Star Wars. That's
Yeah.
the thing. They're like so safe on the back of that license that maybe this would be the kiss of death for another multiplayer shooter. But for this, it's like,
well, it's also
buy it
like
anyway.
no matter what, right? I think like the way the industry is right now, like you have it on here, but like Activision in 2016 from microtransactions made over $3 billion just for microtransactions. And it's like that thing of like, I think that even if there's a huge backlash and no one buys Battlefront 2, that won't happen, number one. But number two, like I don't see EA just being like, okay, we'll never do a microtransaction ever again.
Yeah.
Like they might change how they work, but like this isn't, I don't think there's any world where feedback to this does that, negates it entirely. I think like developers should be more responsible with it. I think this seems like EA got a lot of goodwill by being like, we don't have a season pass in this game. And so great. Like they're going to do free content.
All like
drops.
the new planets and all the new heroes.
So, but it seems like the weird reverse of that is that because of that, now they're trying to get your money in a different way. Yeah.
Well, and there's also, we were talking about in the office today about how a lot of publishers say the reason for things like this are because games are so much more expensive to make now than they were when we were kids, and games have gone down in price, if anything, because like I bought Chrono Trigger for almost $100 back in 1995 or whatever. So the fact that all of these AAA games are only $60 now, that's one of the reasonings behind why they do this. And so people in the office were like, what if games were just $70 and this went away?
I would way prefer that.
Or if there's an optional version, like honestly, like I think that's one thing. Like if you're gonna take something from mobile, this isn't the right thing to take. Take the idea of like a tiered purchasing system, right? Like there are games where like you can buy a free version or you can get a free version and just kind of buy as you go, or you can pay one flat rate and just have everything. And it's like truthfully, like yeah, I would probably rather just spend $80 and get a full complete game as opposed to buying a $60 game and still having to pay little piecemeal purchases.
Yeah, I think we're at a point where we have to accept that games are going to have microtransactions going forward because it works so well and it makes so much money. Like it has to happen. It's just how do they integrate it in a way that works? And I think the way that Dota does it is excellent. Like it seems insane for everyone to not follow that model because no one gets mad about it.
Especially in competitive games. Like I think like in Shadow of War, like I guess I understand why people were mad, but like that's at least like a single player experience where it seems to be less of a big deal. At least to me personally. I mean, I don't know. I understand why people get mad, but it's like for Battlefront, like it is like it's competitive and that's weird. Like it sucks that like someone can just spend money and beat me immediately.
Because even if you're better than that player, they could be.
Yeah, you absolutely have an advantage. Yeah.
And especially when we get into like the esports world, it's really weird because it's like, are people like can they just spend money and become the best at a game? Like that seems really bizarre.
Yeah, I wonder if there'll be like different restrictions in there for playing this game as like an esport. Like you have to start from scratch and you can't. Like I don't know what that looks like, but
yeah, me neither.
Yeah.
Yeah, we shall see. And we'll see if EA sort of responds to this, what I feel is like a relatively overwhelming backlash, at least seeing it online, like seeing the tops. Like Tom's story went up on Friday. We have a video up today. Going up today, I think.
Should be. We'll see.
Yeah, and then just a bunch of like Reddit was filled with threads about this. And
I feel like any minute they issue a statement, it's like, hey, we heard you loud and clear. It's going to be different in the final game, and it'll be like a half measure between the two.
Well, it's that, or they've already written that before the beta even went live.
Yeah, I mean that's true too. Like maybe I don't know. Maybe this isn't. Maybe they were just trying to show the breadth of different available purchase options, and it won't actually be that easy in the final game or something.
I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, Star Wars comes out in a little over a month. Another game coming out soon is Wolfenstein 2, which has obviously been in development for quite some time, just given how AAA games work. But an interesting thing is that it's become a pretty topical game, sort of through no fault of its own, just given the current climate. And Bethesda seems to be capitalizing on that. They have an ad campaign that centers around Make America Nazi Free Again. I misspelled Nazi here, so that's not great.
Nazi.
Yeah, Nazi. And so there's been some talks about like, is Wolfenstein political? Is it too political? Is it not political enough? And Bethesda's Pete Hines said that, quote, at the time, none of us expected that the game would be seen as a comment on current issues, but here we are. Bethesda doesn't develop games to make specific statements or incite political discussions. We make games that we think are fun, meaningful, and immersive for a mature audience. In Wolfenstein's case, it's pure coincidence that Nazis are marching in the streets of America this year, and it's disturbing that the game can be considered a controversial political statement at all. This is what our game is about. This is what the franchise has always been about. We aren't afraid to embrace what BJ stands for and what Wolfenstein represents. When it comes to Nazis, you can put us down in the, quote, against column.
First of all, I want to call them out for saying Bethesda doesn't develop games to make specific statements or incite political discussions, but then also saying we make games that are meaningful.
Yep.
Yeah.
Those two things don't really go hand in hand.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
I mean, it's such a... I don't know. I'm always so interested in a political statement through intent and then a political statement through what we glean from games, because at a certain point what we take away from an experience with a game or how we play it is different than maybe what the developer intended, or like the climate we play a game in might be really different.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know, at least for me, I really don't like this statement because I mean, like, good for them for coming out and saying something, I guess, but it's just like, it's really bizarre to me because it doesn't matter if you like, yeah, it is pure coincidence that Nazis are literally marching in the streets, but like that's the climate you're releasing this game in, and like whether you intended for that timing to work out or not, like I think it is irresponsible to put this game out and just pretend you can just be apolitical about it. Like I think you can't put this out and ignore the fact that like this is happening, that is the real world right now. So I find it really bizarre that they're like, we embrace what BJ stands for. Like, no, you don't.
Yeah.
Like, because
It's kind of the opposite of that.
But I mean, the thing is also like Walt Williams, who was on the show a couple weeks ago, saw this and was tweeting out a couple tweets in a row about how in no way, shape, or form is the Wolfenstein game that came out a couple of years ago political. Like, just because you are killing Nazis in a game, that doesn't make you political. That doesn't make you have a stance against something.
Yep.
No, and I don't expect that this will be like a particularly political game either. And like, I do think that the outrage about this having Nazis in it is ridiculous because yes, they openly used "Make America Nazi Free Again" as a Trump reference.
Sure.
Like, it's dumb of them to be like, "Oh, it's an accident. We didn't mean to make it currently political." Like, you absolutely did that on purpose. But at the same time, Wolfenstein has always been about killing Nazis. And even a big part of American propaganda has always been about killing Nazis.
Which, well, I feel like killing Nazis wasn't political until 2017. It was just, it's the same as killing zombies or the same as, killing robots.
It was in Marvel movies, it's like, well, if what's the Hydra movie?
Captain America, First Avenger.
Is it?
First Avenger and Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if they had come out now, would people be like, but the Nazis, like, it's the
but I mean,
Red Skull
I think that's kind of what I'm saying, though. It's like, I think the part that doesn't sit well with me, like, it is a marketing thing. I think to some extent Walt's right that it's like, it's almost like it is about the game itself, obviously, but I feel like they can't have their cake and eat it too, right? Like, if you're leaning into like "Make America Nazi Free Again" and you're referencing the marches on the streets, then you can't also be like, but none of that matters in the game. It's not political. Like either be a part of the world or don't, and I feel like
the game's already been made. Like, I don't know.
The marketing is political. I don't think the game is.
I think like you
Which
just
I think is silly.
Fine.
Like,
well,
I'm gonna play it, and I'm sure I'm gonna.
Yeah,
play
we
it,
talked literally earlier today. Early on the show, we were talking about how we're stoked.
Absolutely one of my most anticipated games of the year. I love the first one. Like, I'm super excited to play it, but what I played of it, I love. But I agree that it's kind of cowardly maybe.
It's also
To be
just
like, hey,
disingenuous.
this game is like clearly about Nazis, and we're using like current politics in our.
They're using
but-
they're being extremely political in the marketing for a game that they're saying isn't political. So my biggest issue with this is I feel like it's not like dishonest, but it's just like you have to pick a side basically. Like you have to either use the game to make a statement and then sell it as a game that makes a statement, or sell it as not, I guess. Like, I don't know. It feels like the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing is kind of my issue.
Part of me wonders if like there are games that are political and that do make a statement.
Yeah.
But I think they're few and far between, especially when compared to other mediums. And especially when compared to music or literature or TV and movies. And a part of that is that the medium is in its infancy compared to those other arts. But you see a backlash a lot from people who are like, keep your politics out of my game. And I'm like, well, this is art. That's going to happen with art.
I
and
think
like
that you should want that.
You should want that. Like Hideo Kojima makes political games, like Sons of Liberty and Snake Eater and Guns of the Patriots are 100% political games. Neil Druckmann makes political games. And so like even, I don't know, whether you like it or not, these people want to make these things. I think it's just a little bit tougher because...
Yeah, I think with Wolfenstein, they didn't necessarily want to make a political game. And it just happens that they were like, well, we can't, maybe we have to address this in the market. Like, I don't know. It's such a weird position they put themselves in.
Exactly. I think that's exactly what happened.
You see that with Far Cry 5 as well.
Yeah.
Far Cry 5, like they
did it on purpose, though.
They did what on purpose?
They made that game relevant to current politics. Whereas I don't, like Wolfenstein is just Wolfenstein. It's been like 30 years, right?
And I have no idea how successful or unsuccessful Far Cry 5 will be at saying something, but I do feel like it's trying to say something. Whereas
I don't think it's going to say anything. Like I think
it's going to try. I mean,
Ubisoft games so rarely say anything.
But that's the thing is like they even in the marketing wise, they're like, ooh, no, it's not. This is about a cult. It's a cult. It's just about a cult. Yeah. And it's just hard in, like we were just talking about, you have to add microtransactions to games in order to, equal out the costs of AAA development. And so people are afraid to alienate when it comes to games this expensive, when it comes to any art this expensive. Like, I don't know. I always think it's a miracle when a giant summer blockbuster or a giant $200 million blockbuster movie is able to actually say something, because that happens seemingly so few and far between.
Yeah, totally agree.
Yeah.
It's I don't know. It's such a weird conversation that we have to have.
Yeah.
Yep. I'll be fascinated to see what the game does or doesn't have to say and where it lands.
I don't think it's going to say anything political.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be super fun.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's what they're saying here is like,
and the story seems cool. Like the characters seem great. Like everything we've played so far, we've said ad nauseum that we're super excited for the game.
I don't know. To me, that's like, again, you can't release this game in this climate and pretend that you have nothing to say. I don't know. I think that's weird.
Totally understand where you come from. Totally think they're going to do it anyway.
Yeah. No, I think you're right.
I don't think he's saying you can't and they won't.
Exactly. Yeah.
You won't.
Yep.
All right. Thank you guys so much for tuning in this week. You can find us all on Twitter. I'm at Nick Biggity. Alana's at Charlanazard. And Andrew is at Garfep. Do you guys have anything you want to plug? I'm
actually going to make a video about this exact thing on my personal channel this week if you want to check that out. But otherwise, Let's Plays up every single Thursday. The one this week was a little bit late just because I was out of office last week. But the next one is Shadow of War, and they're doing super well. I think that they're really funny, and people in the office have said that they're like some of their favorite things coming out at IGN right now. So if you guys haven't seen those, please check them out. They're at youtube.com/IGN.
Yeah, the more you support them, the more we're able to do them.
Exactly. I keep pushing it because I like making them so much, and I think we all have so much fun making them that we don't want it to get to a point where some higher up is like, they're not viewing well enough, we have to cancel them. So like, please watch them so we can keep doing them because they're very fun. Yeah. If you have suggestions for things, we've been doing all sort of new release games or things that just dropped. We might adapt that a little bit, going forward. If there's a slow season, maybe we're going to pick up some other stuff. Yeah, I'm absolutely reading all the comments on all of them. So I think there's some fun stuff we can do for like game anniversary stuff and cool stuff planned for the holidays while people are out. Ooh. So we have some like fun multiplayer games that hopefully like White Elephant Gift Exchange. What? A White Elephant Gift Exchange. I mean, we could. Let's play White Elephant Gift Exchange. There's no cops. Yeah. There's no YouTube cops. No. But yeah, you can find those on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/IGNBeyond. And that is also where we post Rapid Fire every Saturday morning. Yeah. Like a cartoon. Yes. Exactly. Like a Saturday morning cartoon. Beautiful. We've said that multiple times. Yeah, I was wondering. That's how like people have advertised it. Yeah. Oh. Yeah. On brand. Sorry. No, good job. You did good. Yeah. All right. So for Alana and Andrew, this is Marty. This was Beyond episode 514, and we'll see you all next time.